Captain Byron Bailey, who's an aviation expert, to discuss more on the plane crash in Nepal. Byron, we were talking about some of the indications at this stage that may have led to the cause of the crash. Take us through what you believe potentially may have happened.
Yes, it appears from the video it's an obvious pilot stall. He was flying very slowly. I've flown in and out of Kathmandu, and all the Nepalese airports require special pilot certification because they're very steep approaches. I had to fly over to Dallas and do several simulator approaches before I could be approved to operate into Kathmandu. These approaches in Nepal, because of the steep mountains, require a steeper than normal 6-degree approach, whereas the normal approach for what we do in Australia and the rest of the world is 3 degrees, which means you come down the steep angle at idle with the gear and the flap down, and what happens is at about 400 feet, 300 feet, you suddenly have to transition to a 3-degree slope for the landing. And if you're not sharp, or the one of the engines fails to spool up when you increase thrust to maintain the 3-degree slope, you could suddenly find yourself in a difficult situation requiring immediate pilot action. Looking at the video, it appeared to me that the plane was flying too slow, and when it dropped the left wing, it meant the left wing stalled. So basically, the pilots lost control, either through the left engine not spooling up fast enough when they wanted to increase power to maintain the 3-degree slope, or pilots just were too slow to react. It's very sad. But I must point out, Yeti Airlines have had 6 crashes over the last 18 years, and they're banned from operating into European airspace. So a bit short on pilot training, I think. The actual ATR-42 aeroplanes, but nothing I can say other than that it deliberately is a case of aerodynamic stall that the pilots obviously didn't mean to happen, but they did.
And would there be any reason for concern for the rest of the fleet of that same model?
No, the aeroplanes are fine. It's just the pilots got to be a little bit sharper, I think, on what they're doing, because the approaches are very demanding. And you've got to just be very aware, especially in the last few hundred feet, of what you're doing. But they got too slow, obviously. And so the left wing appears to have stalled first. And once that drops at low level, you don't have altitude to recover. Up high, you can. It's just quite simple. Full opposite rudder, stick forward and get some airspeed and you can recover. But down low, too late.
And as we've heard, this was a relatively new airport that they were flying into. Do you think that that may have had some impact on their experience flying into at that airport as well?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, if you're current flying into an aircraft often, it's not nearly so demanding, but professional pilots should be able to handle anything as long as it's all laid down properly on the approach charts of what you do. So, I can't really say more. The crash investigation is going to reveal all. But this was a stall at low level because the aircraft was flying too slow. And the other thing is, it appeared in the video that it didn't have full flap down. The wing looked rather clean. So I don't know if they forgot to lower the flap or whatever, but it'll all come out in the wash.
Yeah, well, obviously investigations will now be getting underway. What will that process look like over the coming days and possibly even months?
Well, they'll look at the flight data recorder, which will show the speed, the altitude, the engine thrust, etc. So they'll be able to work out exactly what happened in those few seconds where they went from a normal, controlled descent, everything looking good, and the weather was good, shouldn't be a problem, to suddenly stalling. And it'll be very apparent.
Very interesting. Captain Byron Bailey, thank you so much for your insight this afternoon.